Hello everyone, welcome back to the Impeccable Realtors Talk Show. Today we are going to touch on a very interesting topic that many of our peers and friends ask us. Will property price drop this year in 2022? Why this came about was because last year on 16th of December 2021, the government came out with a slew of cooling measures. So what happened was, the first thing they did, the additional buyer stamp duty went up. Okay, so total debt servicing ratio was reduced about 5%. And for HDB as well, the maximum loan you can take from HDB is dropped 5% for 85%. So since these cooling measures were introduced, there were a lot of fear in the market. Will the property market fall in 2022? So today we are going to go through in sequence what usually happens after a cooling measure is announced and what happens to prices, okay, in the future after the announcement of the cooling measures. Alright, so this is how the market reacted for the past 30 years. Every single time a government introduced or induced cooling measures introduced or a world economic financial crisis happen, there's a tendency, okay, for prices to drop. But if you can take a look at what we're going to show you right now, alright, that you can see that prices has actually escalated more than it dropped. Okay, in fact, prices has moved up so high that what was transacted maybe 10 or 20 or 30 years ago were already the lowest possible seen then. Alright, so in summary, from this graph that you have seen, okay, that is shown on this video, today's high is actually the future year's low in terms of pricing. Alright, so usually how market react, they will rebound and go even higher. Then, if we dwell into the pricing itself and we move on to segments of HDB and private condominiums in Singapore, generally for the past 10 years, private condominium has grew about 65% despite all the cooling measures in between. Alright, HDB has grew about 17% as you can see from the graph. Okay, so this goes to show that even if there is a cooling measure, there is a tendency for people to enter the market. So when do you enter market? If you ask me very professionally today, okay, if you have this desire to buy and you are financially ready to buy, then you should enter right now because the slew of measures came about last year, so there's a tendency for this price to rebound even higher in the future. Then, if you take a look at the following data that we're going to show you, we took slightly longer now, about 13 years. Why we started in 2009? 2009 was the first time the government introduced the cooling measures. Alright, so that being said, if you can dissect these three segments that we have given to you. First, new launches. Second, resale condominium. Third, resale HDB. You can find from here that for the past 13 years, price has increased by leaps and bounds. Okay, but which increased the most? Private new launch. This is simply because there is land scarcity in Singapore. There's a tendency for developers to outbid each other to get the land they need to build and of course to make money from the bidding. So that being said, okay, so for the past 10-13 years, okay, 10 to 13 years, prices for new launches has increased. But this also means that buyers like yourself out there will probably earn slightly more if you buy a new launch when compared to buying a resale condominium. Why? Because there's stagnation and lease decay that we have covered in our previous talk show itself. Alright, so if you are looking into entering the market this year, please do so before price escalate to another level that you have not seen before. Okay, so if you compare the three, I would suggest that probably you should consider new launches, okay, because the growth rate is much higher among the three segments being compared here. Then, one of the main key drivers of property prices are how bullish the developers tend to bid for land when there's an opportunity for them to do so. Alright, so this being said, developers usually will outbid each other if they're very hungry for a piece of land, especially those with limited land banks or depleted land banks in Singapore. So right after the cooling measures on 16th of December 2021, there were 4 land which is being sold. Okay, one is in Gilstead, okay, which is near Newton. Alright, another one will be Gloria Mansion, okay, that is an en bloc. And the other two pieces of land will be Lentor Hills, located along Upper Thomson, and Jalan Tembusu at District 15, Katong itself. You can see the prices that were being successfully bidded has outstripped the normal transaction prices that is available in that few estates that are being said. Okay, so from these winning bid prices, we can still feel the bullishness of the developer, hungry for the land and confident that the Singapore market will hold the price and in the future will get even higher. So in summary, it is my view and also most of our professional views that prices this year will hold or even escalate even further. Few reasons why. First of all, employment has been improving for the past 1 or 2 years with the government support in JSS. So when employment is picked up, usually there is a tendency for higher income, and when there's higher income, there's people that desires to buy and sell properties. Second, the land supply in Singapore are very limited. So this year, there's not much land to be sold. So that being said, developers will tend to outbid each other, when it comes to the tender for land. Alright, so this will drive prices up. Then, rising inflation. Let's not talk about petrol, let's not talk about diesel prices or electricity. Just talk about construction costs alone. This inflation itself and plus the COVID situation that we had for the past 2 years has resulted in a shortfall in supply of construction workers and materials as well. So this material cost and cost of labor will drive up prices of properties in Singapore. There are not many new projects that's going to be launched this year as well. So with the limited number of new launches this year by developers, then the buyers are left with not many choices to pick from if they want something brand new. There's also the undersupply of HDB BTOs this year as well. So BTOs this year won't be as much as last year. So this being said, then new buyers or even buyers that want newer properties may move on to private properties. And for this year itself, we are going to set a record for the number of HDB resale that attain minimum occupation period. When couples or families, they have achieved their MOP for their HDB flats, there's a tendency for them to upgrade and wanting to move into a private property or something even bigger, a bigger HDB flat. So that being said, this pool of people will probably move into the secondary market or the primary market. So it may drive up demand and hence the prices of property in Singapore. And of course, everyone likes something brand new. I like brand new cars. So same, a lot of Singaporeans out there, even PRs out there, they like something new. They also like something brand new from the developer or brand new from HDB. So this continued demand for brand newest in Singapore will definitely hold or even push up the prices for properties in Singapore as well. And lastly, we have seen a switch in demand for HDB upgraders. Usually, back in 10-20 years ago, we have witnessed HDB upgraders moving into a bigger HDB flat. But for the past 1 or 2 years, this year or even the past 5 years itself, we have seen HDB upgraders moving on to private properties. So because of this moving on from a HDB into a private property, prices will be escalating probably for the private sector, private condominium portion as well. So that being said, don't dream. This year, the price won't drop. In fact, it is our feel that this year will hit even higher than 2021. So if you're looking into something to buy or to sell, wait no further. Contact us at this number and we will come back to you and have a no obligation discussion with you. Thank you for taking time and we'll see you in our next video.